Morrison County Planning Commission meeting to order. If you all rise for the flag pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, good evening and welcome to the Morrison County Planning Commission public hearings for September 19th, 2023. I have a few items to cover before we get started. Please sign in at the front door if you have not already done so. There you will also find a detailed handout of the step-by-step procedure we will follow tonight. If you wish to take one, please do. Please put any electronic devices on silent mode at this time, please. Also, please note that all testimony is being recorded for the record. Members of the Planning Commission are appointed by the County Board of Commissioners, with one member from each of the 5 commissioner districts. Land Service staff is here to assist the Planning Commission with its duties. The task of the Planning Commission is to hold the public hearing and make a recommendation to the County Board of Commissioners for approval or denial of requests for conditional and interim use permits, rezones, plats, and ordinance amendments in accordance with state law and county ordinance. The burden of proving a request meets the criteria for approval rests with the applicant. There is a protocol for how we will proceed tonight. For each request on the agenda, we will hear a staff report, hear testimony from the applicants, and then we will discuss and gather more information as needed. Next, I will ask if there is anyone in the audience wishing to speak to the request. I will ask each party to come up to the podium in the far corner from us to state their name and address for the record and give their testimony. Please be as factual as possible and direct all statements and questions to me, the chair. After all testimony is complete, I will close the public hearing portion of the process. The Planning Commission will then review and discuss the case in terms of our finding of fact criteria as required by Minnesota statute and county ordinance. We will have a series of votes, discuss whether conditions be made. Then there will be a final motion to recommend approval or denial to the County Board of Commissioners. After this final vote on your request, you may leave if you wish. The County Board of Commissioners will then consider the request and our recommendation at their next regular meeting and will either grant or deny that request. So tonight we have one agenda on the Planning Commission agenda, and that is Robin Wincher. If you please want to come up to these seats up front. So we got Robin Wincher at 6100 280th Avenue, Royalton. Application for conditional use permit to expand to a Tier 2 poultry feedlot located in point of northwest quarter of Section 27, Township 39, Range 30, Buckman Township. When you get situated, if you want to speak into the microphone and just state your name for the record, please.
Robin Wincher.
Okay, thank you. At this time, Amy, you ready with staff report?
I am, Mr. Chair. Again, this is an application to expand to a Tier 2 beef poultry feedlot. This is located in Section 27 of Buckman Township. The ordinance reference for this request is Section 604.6, and that requires a conditional use permit for establishment of feedlots. Here's a plat map of Buckman Township, and the red dot is the location of the parcel. And then here's the conditional use permit request received from the applicant. And then also a site drawing. This was in the environmental review. And then here's an aerial photograph of the property. This is a 150-acre parcel, and there is a home on site, but it is not occupied by the landowner. A small beef cow-calf operation exists on the property. Although about 100 animal units are on the property, this is mainly a pasture operation, so registration as a feedlot has not been required. And then here's just a dialed out view of the property outlined in blue. The applicant is proposing to establish a Tier 2 beef poultry feedlot through the addition of two 60 by 624-foot poultry broiler finishing barns. The total number of animal units would increase to 580.2. The two barns are proposed on the northeastern part of the property, and a new driveway entrance off 63rd Street, which is also known as County Road 234, is proposed to serve the barns. The proposed driveway entrance has been reviewed by the Public Works Department. The entrance must be permitted, and the existing access off of County Road 234 must be removed in order for this access to be granted. For manure application, the applicant will utilize 533.2 acres. Most of this acreage is secured with manure transfer agreements. 135 spreadable acres is needed to utilize nitrogen, and 496 acres is needed to utilize phosphorus. The current offset rating for the feedlot is 98%, and the rating for the proposed expansion is 97%. The applicant has submitted a Morrison County Good Neighbor Plan, and that plan identifies that manure will be applied onto the owner's 75 acres and incorporated within 4 days, and the remaining manure will be transferred to other owners. Mortality disposal indicates composting as a primary method and burial as a secondary method. The odor minimization plan was also submitted, and that plan identifies development of a neighbor relations plan, prompt cleanup of spilled feed, reduction of feed waste and water losses, maintenance of exhaust fans and avoiding dust, and manure buildup, management of mortalities as required by the Minnesota Board of Animal Health, composting of mortalities within an enclosed building, reduced length of time stockpile manure pack is maintained, and consultation with the feedlot officer to identify changes for odor minimization. And then finally, the stormwater plan, and that plan calls for check dams, use of berms to control on-site water for temporary erosion and sediment control. The applicant has been made aware that a water appropriation permit may be needed from the DNR. And again, agriculture zoning is the only district where new feedlots are allowed. The Morrison County Land Use Ordinance states the purpose of the Ag District is to promote and protect areas which have high-quality agricultural lands and are essentially rural in nature. Within this district, agriculture activities shall be given preference over other uses. An environmental review was conducted by the Soil and Water Conservation District. The comments and recommendations within that was that this is an adequate site for a new poultry operation. However, many trees must be removed for barn and driveway construction. There is a small type 1 wetland that must be avoided, and the barns must meet county setback from it. Burial of cattle mortality should discontinue due to a perched water table, and there should be some sort of storage, preferably on a concrete slab, for poultry litter and mortality composting. The applicable comprehensive plan goals and objectives is agriculture goal A1, objectives 1 and 4, and also 8. Goal A2, goal A2, goal A3, and A4, and then under A4, objectives 1 and 3. And then the comprehensive water plan goals and objectives is groundwater goal 1 and 2, surface water goal, objective A, land use and development goal, objective A. 27 notices were sent, and no comment was received prior to the public hearing. And then here are your conditional use criteria questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Amy. At this time, would the applicant have anything to add or anything extra?
No, I think that pretty much covered everything.
Okay. Does anybody on the board have any questions for staff or for the applicant? This would be the time to go through them.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Dave.
I'd just like you to know that I did receive a call today from a neighbor, Karen Einen, right across the road from the proposed barns. And, she's not concerned about poultry barns in ag area. She knows that's where they belong. Just the trees, what the plans were for the trees, and if there would be a tree buffer between the barn and their property, which is directly across the road from the poultry barns, and why the applicant had considered that part of the property rather than another part of the property that didn't require any clearing of trees. So, not a question for you at this point, but that's just the conversation we had. I encouraged her to call. I don't know if she did or not, or if you've called her, but that's just wanted to let you know this was our discussion today. And I told her I'd bring it up tonight and discuss a little bit about trees. We often encourage a tree buffer between barns and others' properties. And it looks like you have a pretty good opportunity to leave trees here if you wanted to. And so,
Yeah, I
had
have
that
no
discussion
inten-
today.
I have no intention of logging the entire area. It's just enough to put the trees in the driveway in. I don't want to cut down any trees, but I have to, to get the barns in and the driveway.
Yeah, you're 600 feet from the road, and you need probably 200 feet of tree removal, or 100 feet, and then you need the roadway, of course.
Correct.
Yeah. Do you plan to continue pasturing that wooded
Yes.
area between the barns and the road?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, that was the questions I had. Whether I would have had the call or not, I would have had those questions.
I guess Rob and I got a couple here.
Sure.
So I seen the manure management plan. You're good on that.
Correct, yep.
You're about 35 to 40 acres roughly from what the max land that you have. Let's say something would change and you need a little bit more land. Is that something that's possible to get some manure spread on somebody else's in the future? You know, if there was a expansion or some of the fields as you soil sample, they wouldn't be able to handle as much.
Sure.
You know, 5 years down the road or something like that.
Yeah, we've got plenty of people that have already inquired about,
Okay.
you know, purchasing manure when we have it available, if and when, so, and a lot of my family farms around the area, so I'm not concerned about having to find other options or other acreage to apply
Okay.
manure onto, yeah.
Okay, good. And then, what's your plans for, like, when you clean out the barns and stuff, like how you're gonna do that? You gonna stockpile for a day, a week, a month, or what's your kind of plans for that? Or kind of in the recommendations from the soil and water was maybe a cement slab or something like that. Just
Yeah.
maybe tell us what your plans are with all that.
So, yeah, so eventually, at some point, I would like to get a stacking slab. But prior to that, or even at that point, once clean out times, you know, push it to the end of the barns and either field apply it or transfer it to whoever is wanting it within 7 to 10 days.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Amy.
are you planning for a concrete aprons then on the
Yeah.
ends of the
Yeah,
barn?
I think those are automatic.
Okay.
I think they put them in.
So when you
anyways.
scrape those, when that manure is sitting for 7 to 10 days, that's gonna be on concrete
Correct.
slab, okay?
Okay. And then my last question was just through that soil and water review. One was talking about like your cattle mortalities, you've been burying them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a normal practice or a legal practice, but they were concerned because of the water table.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, truly, we don't bury many.
Yep.
Usually they get cold before it comes to that. He's more thinking about my pets that are buried there.
Okay, okay,
So-
okay. Otherwise, do you ever use like the rendering truck or? no?
Yeah, we
Okay.
do.
Okay,
Not super often, but like
Yep.
I say, once in a while you get a surprise mortality and, well, you gotta do something with it, so.
yeah, I understand totally. I'll have that tomorrow, so. I think that's all I had for questions. You guys have anything? Anybody else on the board here?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Dave.
Question for Amy, there's, in the environmental review, there was a small wetland measure, or mentioned, and the, what is the setback from that? I assume they're meeting that setback?
Mr. Chair, if you look on there, there's that type 1 wetland, and it's 50 feet from the proposed operation. It needs to be 25, so it will, the location of the proposed barn will meet the setback from that wetland.
And you won't need to do any fill in that area for truck traffic around the barn?
I don't believe so.
Okay,
As long as we stay away from that setback, we're good.
okay. Do you plan on grass around the barns? What,
Either grass or class 5. I'm fine with not having to cut any grass, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with filling it in.
So you aren't going to have a large cleared area?
No,
Okay.
no, just enough to put the barns in, and the rest is gonna be what it is. It's gonna stay as undisturbed as possible.
If there is obviously, any bare land, that probably will be grass, naturally.
Correct,
Yeah.
yeah.
Normally, that's one of the conditions, is to have grass or around these barns. Amy, what's normally recommended?
Generally, to avoid the gully erosion that happens off of that large roof area, the Soil and Water Conservation District generally recommends a 50-foot wide grass buffer or some other permanently vegetated buffer normally around a barn. You're going to have that class 5 for trucks and all of that, but then beyond that, then it's permanent vegetation of some sort, and that really helps with the erosion that occurs off of these barns.
The wetland will serve as,
Certainly don't want to be discharging all of the water to the wetland. And I mean, I'm sure the wetland will receive some of that, but we don't want to be directing all of that water to the wetland. So there should be some vegetation in between the barn and that wetland, but along that whole strip.
if this goes through and you start that permitting process, I assume you have that dialogue with the applicant, the stormwater plan and that grass plan.
That is correct,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
And Dave, I think if you look, I think the north side will probably be okay because of the trees and pasture and all that. It's maybe the south side that, with the field, and then I think as long as it don't erode, at least the water's going to a field and not. So this is a little more unique than some of the other ones, I think, but I guess it'd be up to them if they want their field washing out. But I think the trees and that stuff in the pasture on the north side's safe, but.
Yeah, well, there probably will be a road on the north side of the barn, obviously.
They're gonna, as far as I know, they're gonna do kind of a waterway around the entire site to keep, too much water from, washing out the fields.
Okay.
At least that's what I was told.
But the roads will be on both sides and in the middle?
I believe, I'm not 100% sure if they're gonna put one on the north side, but for sure around, in the middle and around the north barn.
On the north side of the north
Yep.
barn?
Yep.
So you will be getting pretty close to that wetland, and we'll need a plan to keep water away from
Yep.
there. And so our land services will be sure that you have that.
I had one question, maybe Amy, you can answer this. I thought with the county, with Tony, said something about permitting that driveway. There was another one that was
Yes.
coming out.
Yes.
Where's the one that's coming out at?
Let me see if I can't. And the applicant might need to tell you where the existing driveway is. Which one are you taking
There-
out?
Yeah, it's hard to see on here,
Yeah,
but there's a farmstead on the north side.
Yep,
It's kind of in between their two driveways.
right
Okay.
there.
Yeah,
So that one's coming out?
correct.
Okay.
okay. Okay. Anybody else?
I was daydreaming, or Clint, was that the one that they're abandoning, or is that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
and that's between the county engineer and them.
Yes, Mr. Chair, they've already had discussion about the conditions under which they'll permit a driveway entrance. Typically, it's one entrance per parcel. And so in order to have that one, she's going to remove the one that's already there.
Thank you.
You guys good? Ready for public comment? Okay. I'll now open this portion of the meeting to the audience for public comment. If there's any public comment, please go to the podium. And I have to ask it 3 times, so is there any public comment? Okay, I'll ask the 3rd and final time. Any public comment? If hearing none, we'll close this portion of the meeting to the public. Okay, anybody have any more questions, or should we go through our sheet? criteria questions.
Are we going to consider conditions?
If you got one, you gotta speak up, Dave. I don't.
Well, the 50-foot grass strip is usually what's recommended and generally a condition that we apply here.
Okay.
One that we've always done. So I'd recommend that. The tree buffer between the road and the north barn, I think that would be a good gesture to the neighborhood. And sounds like their intention is to do that, so I don't know if it requires a condition or not,
Isn't that from the barn to the north, all trees?
except for what's going to be taken out for the barn and
Yeah.
the road. And,
Yeah, so we would have to condition it because it's already there, right?
to maintain it there.
So, Mr. Chair, I guess you could do a couple of things. If you want to make sure that some sort of vegetative buffer is maintained there, you could specify that there be a minimum of so many feet of trees that remain. That would be the only way to guarantee that a buffer is maintained, because it's not a performance standard
Correct.
for feedlots otherwise.
No, what Robin had indicated would be a very adequate tree buffer, as long as they stayed there.
Yeah.
And
they don't- I don't have a
that's
plan
their
along that
intention,
place,
so just maintain the tree buffer that she proposed. And nothing that is needed for the road or the barn.
Well, I'm fine with that, but I'm gonna say a comment for now and for the future.
Okay.
We got an 80-acre piece, there's 5 acres out, it's 75, right? They're building barns in the middle of the property, and we're worried about trees from there to the road.
Excuse me?
If they're building in the middle of this property, that's an 80. Take 5 out in the corner, it's 75, so just say 80. Basically building these barns just about in the middle of the property, and we're gonna worry about a tree buffer from there to the road out in ag for a barn. I always have a hard time with that, but if you wanna make the thing, that's fine. It's different if it was 100 feet from the road or 200 feet from the road, but it's a lot farther than that.
Anybody else concerned about a vegetative buffer?
Not in the least bit. If she's gonna leave the trees, no. If you want it to be grass specifically, I mean, you can make the condition and that's fine, but if it's vegetative, right, buffer.
Mr. Chair?
Well, we're talking two things.
Yeah, I
The
think
grass
it's two
buffer and the
things.
tree buffer.
I think there's two conditions we're talking about. The first one is a permanently vegetated buffer immediately around the barns.
Right.
And then the other one is maintenance of some of this tree cover between that north barn and the road.
Yeah, that's not I don't think that's a thing here. I think you can't get any more trees between there and the road unless you put it on the other side of the property. But the vegetative buffer specifically, does that mean grass or does that mean anything vegetative?
Well, we would say permanently vegetated, so it would be something that's not cultivated. So when you look for anything that would be on the south side of that barn, it would have to be something that is permanently vegetated. A lot of times, it's grass is what they choose to use.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Brent.
maybe I'd just like to ask Robin a couple of questions regarding the driveway coming in. So as I'm looking at this, just to help me if I understand this correctly, the purpose of taking trees out is to establish the road into the barns.
Correct.
And how wide is that going to be? 40 feet? Did I read that somewhere?
Yeah, that sounds
40 foot wide?
right.
And can you tell me the approximate distance, 600, 1,000, 1,300 feet back to the barns? What is that approximately?
From the road to basically where that field starts is about 900 feet.
Okay, so we're looking at 40 feet wide by 900 feet away from the road with trees on both sides of the proposed driveway.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't see where there's any need
Well, a little
for,
clarification on that, Brent. From the north barn to the road, it's 600 feet. And there will be a road So I don't know, there's gonna be 500 feet of trees from the road, not 900 feet, but still, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess 600 feet, 500 feet, or 900 feet, you're quite a ways off the road there to try and establish some sort of additional buffer than what's already existing there at the tree line, I think is redundant.
Yeah, my proposal was just to maintain trees there.
Well, they're not going to be able to do much with a wetland on that side either, so I think that is going to exist just by the pure nature of its existence.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Marv.
I agree with Brent over here. I mean, here, these trees been there for years, and they're going to probably continue to be there. I think it's unnecessary to do that, and not often do we see these poultry barns being put in the middle of a property that meets all the setbacks like this here. So, I mean, the unfortunate part is losing some of these trees, which either most of us don't like to see, but here you have everything controlled here. I mean, the vegetative buffer probably ain't a bad idea on one side, but maintenance of trees and stuff, I think it's unnecessary also.
Right here. About the same distance. Okay, thank you.
Mr.
Okay,
Chair,
Go ahead.
is there any
John.
reason there wasn't a specific, that recommendation? Because I've seen Soil and Water put the recommendation about the buffer, but this time they didn't. Why would that happen?
I think so, mistake, or not a mistake, but just an oversight. Also, I think you'll see that more when there's a lot of topography to the site. And so when we have a lot of slope, then we definitely see that. And so I think it could have been an oversight. It's generally a standard thing, but usually we'll see it when there's a lot of topography.
And John, no, Dave's right. Normally when we go through these barns, we kind of require that. So Dave is right on that. That's what our board has been
we've been
doing
doing
in the
that for
past.
years.
Yeah. Okay, let's go through the criteria.
So we're
Questions?
considering one, Mr. Chair, sorry.
Go ahead, Dave.
We're considering one condition then, the grass.
Yep.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. So question one, the use will not put an excess burden on roadways, utilities, and public facilities such as parks and school. John?
Given the location of this, looks like you're bringing power in for the public, or for the utilities, but there's no excessive burden on this. A couple trucks here and there on the road, and then obviously nowhere near any parks or schools at this point, given the location. Yeah,
Okay,
that's it.
thank you. Anybody else have anything to add to question one? If not, we'll go to question two. The request will not be detrimental to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purpose already permitted, nor impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant property for uses predominant in area. I would say I could answer this one, yes. They're over 900 feet away from the nearest residence from where these barns are going in. It's in ag. There's a buffer all the way around, not only with setback, but also with the trees and the other operation that's already going on the farm that the area has been used to already. So I don't see anywhere where this would bother anybody other than maybe a couple trucks once in a while coming in to feed and do things like that. So I would answer yes to question two. Anybody have anything to add to question two? If not, we'll move to question three. The use and opinion of the Planning Commission is reasonably related to the existing land use and environment. Groundwater, surface water, and air quality in the surrounding area will not be adversely affected by the proposed use. Brent?
I think we're looking at, ag use in an ag district. With respect to groundwater, the nearest water looks like 750 feet away with just that wetland next to that proposed barn at 50 feet away. They're proposing to drill a new well in that location, so I think with respect to groundwater, we're covered there. Surface water, with the condition that we've talked about, I think we're suffice there. Air quality, a 98% offset now, 97, it's only going to drop 1% with the proposed use. And this is being adequately situated in the center of the land. And the staff report indicated this is an adequate site for new poultry.
Okay, thank you, Brent. Anybody have anything to add to question 3?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Dave.
just even with addition of the barn, the odor offset is still 97%, and that the wetland that is identified here will be adequately protected by the plan that has come up with Land Services or Soil and Water to make sure there's not excessive runoff into that area from the road and the barn itself.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we'll move to question 4. The use is consistent with the purposes of the zoning ordinance and the purposes of the zoning district in which the applicant intends to locate the proposed use. Dave?
Yeah, this is the only place that feedlots can be situated, is in an ag zone. Where there were no comments from neighbors, so the intended use seems to be very well accepted in the area. It is ag, and that's where feedlots belong. And it meets all of the setbacks and exceeds all the setbacks, so.
Anyone else? I'd just maybe add just with the manure management plan and some of the practices that the applicant has stated that they're gonna be doing as far as stockpiling manure and doing things like that and getting it hauled out timely. And with the mortalities, I think that just reiterates that it's consistent with a lot of our zoning ordinances, so I just add that. Question 5, the use is not in conflict with the comprehensive plan or the water plan of the county. Marvin?
Yes, as Soil and Water reviewed this, and they had a few recommendations, and you plan on following it. And then in the near future, you're planning on putting a stacking slab to prevent any more possibility of leaching into the soil. And you have 496 acres needed to haul manure. You have 533 already spoken for. You have more neighbors that would like to get the manure. So it's definitely not in conflict because you're following all the recommendations.
Okay, thank you, Marv. Anybody have anything to add to question 5?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead,
just
Dave.
like to add to that, Land Services has a, is be on record now as a feedlot, and there's been a review by the feedlot officer identifying, the approved practices that will be involved, and there will be regular reviews from now on. So, yeah, I think all the plans that are listed in the staff report, all the goals and objectives, and are met, both water and comprehensive plan.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you guys ready to vote? Okay, and keep in mind, we have the one condition with the 50-foot grass buffer around the buildings when you're voting. Okay, so we'll start with question 1. The use will not put an excess burden on roadways, utilities, and public facilities such as parks and schools. John?
Yes.
Myself, Clint is yes. Brent?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Marvin?
Yes.
Question 2, the request will not be detrimental to the use and enjoyment of other property in immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant property for the use's predominant area. Myself, Clint is yes. Brent?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Marvin?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Question 3, the use in the opinion of the Planning Commission is reasonably related to the existing land use and the environment. Groundwater, surface water, and air quality in the surrounding area will not be adversely affected by the proposed use. Brent?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Marvin?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Myself, Clint is yes. In the The use, question 4, the use is consistent with the purposes of the zoning ordinance and the purposes of the zoning district in which the applicant intends to locate the proposed use. Dave?
Yes.
Marvin?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Myself, Clint is yes. Brent?
Yes.
Question 5, the use is not in conflict with the comprehensive plan or the water plan of the county. Marvin?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Myself, Clint is yes. Brent?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Okay, looks like we answered all the questions in the affirmative, so I guess we could take a motion from somebody to recommend approval with the one condition.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion made and seconded to recommend approval to the county commissioners with the one condition. All in favor, say aye. Brent?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Marvin?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Myself, Clint is aye. Okay, so we'll approve recommendation, we'll recommend to the commissioners that they approve this. And that meeting will be on September 26th. I think down here, right? You don't need to go there if you don't want to, but if you have any questions between then and now, contact Amy or somebody at Land Services and they can help you. Amy, you got
That
something?
meeting, the board meeting starts at 9 a.m. and I'm usually not first on the agenda, so it'll be sometime that morning. The agenda for that meeting doesn't come out until the Friday prior. So, yes, but I'll bring this on your behalf and, but you're more than welcome to be there as well. Okay.
Okay, you're free to go. Thank you.
All right.
Good
thank you
luck.
For your time.
Yep. Okay, so we have approval of the September 9th minutes, or 5th, actually. I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay, there's a motion made and seconded to approve the minutes from September 5th. All in favor say aye. Marvin?
Aye.
Brent?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Myself, Clint is aye. Okay, any new business? I don't have any.
Mr. Chair, I do not have any.
Okay, no old business? I don't have any. You don't have any? Okay, I guess we could take a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adjourn.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye. Marv?
Aye.
Brent?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Myself, Clint is aye. Meeting adjourned.